Hey, me here. I forgot to mention this in the actual intro to the video, so I'm going to get that out of the way now. But this is actually one of my remix requests I have in that Google form in the description of all my videos. This is going to be a four-part series where I go through all those and I finally address them, and then I show you the creative process of making all those and producing them. And of course, you get to hear those finished remixes at the end. So thank you, and right into the video.
Hello, I'm Merity, and I'm a real person sitting here and talking to you on the camera. And that's something very different, but it's something I want to start doing more often. So I figured this video would be a pretty good segue into that. Now, what exactly is this video? You read the title. You probably know the general gist of what's going on here, but I wanted to take this opportunity to walk you through exactly what goes on in the creative process of when I'm remixing or producing things, and hopefully maybe give somebody some inspiration, give somebody some skills or tips that they haven't heard before. And if you don't want any of that, you're not interested in any of that, then just skip this time code here and just listen to the song, and that's all you have to do. Now, if you do want to stick around for all the fun stuff, we'll get right into that. But first, we need to set something on fire. There we go. Hopefully that was as aesthetic as I hoped. Now we are ready, we are curting it up, and we can get right into this. Now, I haven't bought myself a mic stand yet, so I'm going to be doing this just a tiny bit handicapped, having only one hand, and there'll be this little annoying thingy to deal with. Hopefully that didn't make too much noise on the mic, but we're going to roll with it because we are starting out and we have to start somewhere, right? I'm going to stop talking and we'll get right into this. I started this in June 2022. That was a minute ago, coming up on 2 years. Okay. I started that project and I had this intro part here. Now, this is... I touched it up a little bit since then, but I had this sort of atmospheric intro going with all the piano, and it went into this drop here with the vocal chops. And that I all did in 2022. Now, I think this is just a splice vocal that I sort of tuned and chopped up. We can create just a basic track here with no effects or anything on it and extend that to all of its glory. That is a large loop. There we are. And yeah, that was just off of Splice. It honestly might have been a cymatics loop, I'm not sure. And I took that and chopped it up. And maybe this isn't the most efficient way to do this. If you're watching along at home, don't take this as a instructional video. I mean, you can do it like this. There's nothing wrong with doing it like this. I just took each individual track and set the pitch correction to one single note. So each of these tracks tunes to a particular note. And again, that may not be the most efficient way to do it, but it does sound pretty clean. And I think I just have OTT over this whole thing, a little bit of chroma verb. I think the shaper box is just, it's doing some envelope tracking with the filter, and then it's adding this phaser on to add some of that bubbly vocal underwater quality that you hear in the Splatoon songs, because I did want to try to capture that a little bit. This is a Splatoon song, and we'll try not to forget that. Then after that, it's just a compressor and an EQ for mixing. Now after that, there's not really much going on in this sort of mid-section here. It's just a vehicle to get to the next drop, essentially, because when I picked this project up, it just cut off right there. And it was definitely awkward coming back to it after so long and trying to pick it up and keep that exact same energy. And let me tell you, I did not keep that exact same energy, because in this second drop, it has very much of a hyper pop sort of feel. And let's just give that a quick listen right here. Very different vibe than the first whole half of the song there. What I started out here with is, I think I actually started out with the drum. The drums are just the exact same kit as this section from the drop, that first drop, and then the midsection here. I think it's even the exact same pattern. I just threw some distortion on that. And then there was one last step, which was to create that little shot you hear with the snare. Now, how I came up with that sort of hyperpop snare sound is I actually just have a clap right here, and that just has the distortion on it from the drums bus. Now, we layer that with this sound right here. We need to go a little bit more in depth in how did I get this sound. This is just a percussion off of splice. Let me see if I can show you what it sounds like just dry. It's just that little sort of crunchy sound. And how I turn that into that stabby, super resonant blip is this is all in the quick sampler. It's actually in the drum sampler, which is sort of the same thing, sort of not. I just pitched it up a little bit, and most importantly, I turned that filter envelope up and that filter resonance up and the cutoff all the way down. So it makes that sort of whoop motion and creates that little stab sound. That's about all for the drums in this section. My next step on writing this drop was this whole little 8-bit pluck section. And I was originally gonna stretch this around and make it a lot more funky, a lot more choppy, but I ended up really liking it how it is, and that sort of inspired the hyperpop sound for this drop. And of course, super saws are always an essential. I have those going here. And I think Shaper Box with just a basic 1/16 volume LFO. ShaperBox is an amazing plugin if you don't have it. This is not a paid promotion or anything. I just love it. I don't spend money on a lot of plugins, but ShaperBox is the one that I've never regretted a day in my life. I use it literally every day. Go buy ShaperBox. Cable guys, you should hire me. You should sponsor me. Bass is pretty basic. We just have this distorted sub going here. And then a little pluck down here with most of the low end cut out, so it doesn't clash too much with that 808. And last but not least, I have all this atmosphere going on here with this harp and piano just absolutely loaded with reverb, and then these playing the chords that the Supersaw is playing, but with an automation on that sort of makes it sweep in and then cut off, and then sweep in and then cut off, to give it like a really rhythmic sound. And it just sort of helps add to the overall flow of the drop. I did something kind of interesting over here with the kick, where it sort of has this delay out sound, and you can hear it sort of fading out there. Instead of just using a delay, I wanted to make that myself. So I took that kick and I just played it at a descending velocity, so it gets quieter and quieter here, and then ramped up the reverb, and then ramped down the dry mix as that went along, and then cut out the lows as it went up so it doesn't really clash with anything else in the mix there. And it sounds pretty nice in my opinion. Now we have another sort of down section here. Again, this is sort of just a vehicle into the next drop. I didn't put a ton of effort into this, admittedly. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you guys that, but you know, now you know. But it is pretty simple. It's really just that melody going on, those super, super reverby chords, and then that just goes into a pretty basic snare roll buildup. And again, a massive tonal shift. So I'm not really sure entirely where this came from, but I am really happy with how it sounds. And though it's a little bit stylistically different, I think it does overall fit. So that's all that there. I do know how I started with this. Now I started because I wanted to try using a vocoder on a bass. So I started out with this bass sound here and tossed a vocoder on that. And then I had the idea, what if I automate the performance shift of this vocoder as it plays? And then that's where we end up with that sound right there. I can show you guys exactly what that is doing visually, partially because it might help and partially because I think it looks really cool. So it's really not that interesting, but I think it looks cool. That is playing on all of these one basses here. So it's got that little piece there, that roller there, and that's going through this whole section of that drop. Those are my one basses, and then my filler basses are this little pluck right here. And that is insanely easy to make. You would definitely be really surprised by the amount of things you can do by just distorting two oscillators. This is something I've seen Skrillex do a lot, where he'll take just two sine waves, just an octave apart, and then distort the output of that synth, and it just makes this insane screaming sound. I'll toss that together just to show you guys exactly what I mean. This is a little bit of a detour, but that's okay because we're going to learn something today. We got a good amount of distortion there, and then we can play that. Oh, I think it's filtered somewhere. Oh yeah, there we go. So can we play that now? And that makes that really, really crunchy. You could use it as a sub, you could use it as a synth bass, you could use it as whatever. And well, that's a cool sound. It's not exactly the one I'm thinking of. You could also just go even more basic, and you got 0 and 48 right here. Just toss some absolutely disgusting distortion on that. Hard clip it, bang. Play that in the lower register and insane. That has been our sound design tangent for the day. Now you know. But for this bass specifically, like I said, it uses a very similar technique to the stuff we just listened to, where it has this one on the 0, this one 2 octaves up, and then this one 3 octaves up. And we just have that doing a very basic pluck, where it's just a no sustain, fairly short decay, but not too crazy short. And then we're also automating that to a filter. We got this envelope controlling this filter, so it does that little boop sound. And that's just a really nice basic bass sound that still sounds really unique. Throw some OTT on that as always, and just a little bit of reverb, and we get this. So absolutely feel free to steal that. It's one of my favorite things that I've made, and hopefully it'll be something that's useful to you, whether you want to use that sound or whether it serves as an inspiration for something. That's about all I have to say for this track. I'll let the outro play as I sort of talk us out of here. And I hope that was something you guys found entertaining or inspiring or maybe even educational. I really hope to do more stuff like this in the future. I know I'm going to be doing 4 of them throughout December, 1 every Sunday, and all 4 of those are going to be your guys' remix requests, so you can see the exact creative process and everything that goes into that. Now again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a comment if that's something you want to see more of in the future, and I'll send you right to the full track now.